Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. Jack adjusted the last of the moving boxes in the spacious, yet stark living room of his new apartment. He sighed, wiping his brow. The move had been less than smooth, but at least he was finally here, in the bustling heart of the cosmopolitan galactic hub where humanity mingled with countless alien species. His job at the interspecies communication firm had brought him here, and he was ready, or so he thought. As he surveyed his new surroundings, a soft chime from the door signaled a visitor. Puzzled, Jack opened it to find a striking figure, a woman with iridescent skin that shimmered under the hallway's lights, her eyes a deep violet that seemed almost luminescent. "Hello, neighbor," she greeted with a melodious voice that carried a hint of an exotic accent. "I'm Zarla. I noticed you moving in. It can be quite a task to settle into this sector. Need any help?" Jack was momentarily taken aback by her sudden appearance and undeniable charm. Yeah, actually, thanks. I'm Jack. I can't seem to figure out the environmental controls. It's either too hot or too cold." Zarla chuckled, her laughter like a gentle cascade. "Ah, the eternal struggle of our building. Let me show you." She stepped inside gracefully, moving towards a control panel mounted on the wall. Her fingers danced over the interface, expertly adjusting the settings. "There, that should do it. It's always a bit finicky," she said, turning to face him with a smile. Jack watched in gratitude. "Thanks. I would have probably frozen to ice or melted down trying to figure that out. It's no trouble at all. What brings you to our little corner of the galaxy?" Zarla asked, her curiosity piqued. "I work with the Universal Communication Bureau, down at the Central Spire. Just transferred here from Earth. It's my first time living off-world," Jack explained, feeling more at ease. "That's exciting. The Spire is a great place to work. You will meet beings from all over the stars there," Zarla said. "What about you? What do you do?" "I'm a cultural liaison for Zelrix Corporation. We facilitate cultural exchanges and trade agreements between species." "It's always interesting," Zarla replied, her eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. "That sounds fascinating," Jack mused. "Must be quite the experience, dealing with all those different species and cultures." "It is. Every day is something new, but it's not without its challenges. Speaking of which, if you ever find yourself puzzled by the local customs or need tips on interspecies etiquette, I'm your neighbor. Plus, it's always good to have a friend in this big city." Jack smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. "I appreciate that, Zarla. It's good to know someone's got my back. Consider it a welcome gift." And speaking of gifts, Zarla paused, her expression brightening. "Why don't you come over for dinner tonight? I can introduce you to some of the local delicacies. Consider it an unofficial welcome to the neighborhood." "That sounds great. I'd love to. Thank you, Zarla." As Zarla headed towards the door, she turned back and said, "Great. It's apartment 504, just 2 floors up. Come by around 7. See you then," Jack confirmed, already looking forward to the evening. After Zarla left, Jack felt a newfound enthusiasm bubble within him. His initial apprehensions about moving to a new planet began to dissipate, replaced by the exciting prospects of new friendships, and perhaps new adventures. Promptly at 7, Jack left his apartment, his steps light with anticipation. He found apartment 504 with ease, marked by a vibrant, holographic number glowing softly beside the door. He pressed the chime, and almost immediately, the door slid open to reveal Zarla, her violet eyes sparkling with warmth. "Jack, I'm so glad you could make it," Zarla greeted, stepping aside to let him in. "Welcome to my little abode." Jack entered, his eyes taking in the eclectic decor of Zarla's apartment, a tasteful blend of her cultural heritage and modern aesthetics. "This place is amazing," he remarked, genuinely impressed. "Thank you," Zarla said, leading him into the dining area where the table was set with an array of colorful dishes that looked as alien as they were appetizing. I hope you're hungry. I prepared some traditional Zolarian dishes. As Jack took his seat, another figure emerged from what appeared to be the kitchen. Ah, and here's my roommate, Threx, Zarla introduced. Threx was a tall, lean figure with skin that had a subtle, metallic sheen and eyes that gleamed gold. Threx, this is Jack, our new neighbor. Pleasure to meet you, Jack, Threx said in a voice that had a metallic resonance, extending a hand which Jack shook, noting the slight coolness of Threx's grip. The pleasure's all mine, Jack replied, intrigued by the second alien species he was meeting tonight. Zarla began serving the food, explaining each dish as she placed it on the table. This is grill knack, a sort of stew. It's very traditional, and I hope it's to your taste. Jack tasted the stew, finding the flavors complex and surprisingly pleasing. This is delicious, he complimented, earning a pleased smile from Zarla. Threx served a drink, a shimmering liquid in delicate glasses. This is Jixen juice. It's mildly intoxicating to humans, so just a small amount to start, he advised. Jack sipped the drink, finding it sweet and refreshing with a hint of something spicy that tickled his throat. That's really good. It's different but in a good way. As they ate, conversation flowed easily. Threx shared stories of his own planet, a vast desert world that was home to ancient, towering cities, while Zarla spoke of the lush, vibrant forests of Zealer. So, what about Earth, Jack? What should we know about your homeworld? Zarla asked, genuinely curious. Jack found himself describing Earth's diverse ecosystems, from the rainforests to the deserts and the oceans. It's not as exotic as your world's, but it has its own charm, he said modestly. I'd love to visit someday, Threx mused. I've seen images of your blue oceans, very different from the sand seas of my home. The evening stretched on, filled with laughter and shared stories. Jack felt a camaraderie with Zarla and Threx that he hadn't expected to find so quickly in such a foreign place. As the night wound down, Zarla brought out a dessert, a delicate, flaky pastry filled with a sweet, creamy substance. This is Varen cake. It's a special treat, usually made for celebrations. Consider this a celebration of new friendships, she explained. Jack tasted the dessert, finding it light and delicious. Thank you, Zarla, for everything tonight. I feel a lot less like an outsider now. That's what neighbors are for, Zarla replied, her eyes gleaming with kindness. And if you ever need anything, know that you're not alone here, Threx added, clapping Jack on the shoulder with a friendly gesture. As Jack left Zarla's apartment later that night, he felt a warmth that wasn't just from the alien cuisine. He had found not just a meal but friends and perhaps a little slice of home in this vast, cosmic city. In the weeks following the dinner at Zarla's apartment, Jack found himself integrating into the rhythms of his new environment with surprising ease, thanks in no small part to his neighbors. He was frequently invited to join Zarla and Threx for various social activities. Everything from local cultural exhibits to simple movie nights that featured films from across the galaxy. One afternoon, Jack was returning from work when he bumped into Threx in the lobby. The tall figure was staring intently at a small device in his hand, which was emitting a series of soft pings. Threx, hey, what's that you've got there? Jack asked, curious. Threx looked up, a smile spreading across his metallic features. Oh, Jack, this is a Plixel tracker. It's used in one of the popular sports on my planet. I was just going through some game strategies. Sports? That sounds interesting, Jack remarked, his interest piqued. Yes, it's a bit like your Earth chess, but played in real time and with teams. It's quite strategic. I play in a league here. You should come to a game sometime, Threx suggested. I'd love to, Jack said, genuinely interested. Just let me know when and where. It's a deal, Threx grinned, clapping Jack on the shoulder. How about tomorrow evening? We have a friendly match at the community center. Count me in, Jack replied, excited about the prospect. The following evening, Jack followed Threx to the community center, a large dome-shaped building equipped with various alien technologies. Inside, the center buzzed with beings from different species, each moving about with purpose. Threx led him to a large hall where a Plixel match was about to start. As they took their seats, Zarla joined them, slipping into the seat next to Jack. "Wouldn't miss Threx's match," she declared with a chuckle. Jack noticed a certain brightness to Zarla's demeanor that hadn't been as pronounced before. She seemed more vibrant, her skin shimmering even more than usual. Curious, he leaned over to whisper, "You seem in particularly good spirits." Zarla smiled, a secretive twinkle in her eye. "It's my season," she whispered back, the term not entirely clear to Jack. "Your season?" he questioned, puzzled. Zarla nodded, her voice low. "It's a Zolarian thing. I'm entering what we call the brightening, the prelude to our mating season. It affects our moods, energy, pretty much everything." Jack nodded, trying to understand. "Is there anything I should be aware of? As a friend, I mean, just enjoy the glow." Zarla laughed softly, her mood evidently lifted by the biological change. The match began, and Jack tried to follow along as Threx explained the rules. The game was fast-paced and complex, with players moving both on the field and at the strategy tables. Threx was deeply involved, occasionally shouting instructions to his teammates. After the match, which Threx's team won, the trio celebrated at a nearby eatery. As they shared stories and laughter, Jack couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in Zarla's behavior. Her touches lingered longer on his arm, her laughs were richer, and she seemed more physically close than before. As the night drew to a close, Zarla leaned closer to Jack. "Thank you for coming tonight. It means a lot," she said, her hand resting gently on his. Jack smiled, feeling a warmth that went beyond the physical. "I had a great time. Thanks for inviting me." As he walked home later, Jack pondered Zarla's revelation about her mating season. He felt a mix of curiosity and concern, hoping he could be the friend she might need during this unique time. Yet, there was an undeniable excitement, too, a feeling that something new and unexpected was just around the corner. Several evenings later, Jack and Zarla found themselves on the roof of their apartment building, a popular spot for residents to enjoy the panoramic views of the city's dazzling night sky. They had taken to spending more time together, often after Zarla's hints about her brightening period piqued Jack's interest and concern for his new friend. Zarla was unusually quiet this evening, gazing at the stars with a contemplative air. Jack, sitting beside her with a couple of drinks he had brought up, sensed her mood and decided to broach the topic. "Zarla, you mentioned something about the brightening last time we talked. You seem different lately. Is everything okay?" Jack inquired gently, handing her a drink. Zarla accepted the drink, her fingers brushing his as she took it from him. "Thank you, Jack. Yes, I'm fine. It's just the brightening can be a challenging time for us. It heightens our emotions, our senses. Everything feels more intense." Jack nodded, trying to understand. "Sounds intense. Is there anything I can do to help? Just say the word." Zarla smiled, touched by his concern. "Just keep doing what you're doing. Being here, being my friend. It helps more than you know," she said, her eyes meeting his in the soft light. Their conversation paused as they sipped their drinks, the silence comfortable but charged. Jack was the first to break it, wanting to divert the mood to something lighter. "You know, I've never watched a meteor shower before coming to this planet. We had them on Earth, but I never took the time," Jack shared, gazing up at the streaks of light occasionally marking the sky. "That's something we have in common, then. Zealer has meteor showers that light up the whole sky. It's like watching the stars dance just for you," Zarla responded, her tone wistful. The night deepened around them, the air cool and crisp, filled with the scent of the night-blooming flowers from the building's hanging gardens. Zarla shifted closer to Jack, her shoulder brushing against his. "Jack," she began hesitantly, "there's something else I should tell you about the brightening. It's not just a physical or emotional change. It's also, well, it's when we Zolarians find our mates." Jack turned to look at her, sensing the importance of what she was sharing. "Mates, as in?" "Yes, as in life partners. It's a very spiritual and deep connection for us. The brightening helps us align our energies to attract the right one, Zarla explained, her voice soft but clear. Jack took a moment to process this. So, what happens if do you think you found your mate? Zarla laughed, a sound full of warmth. It's not that immediate or obvious. It's about connection, deep understanding, and mutual respect. It doesn't just happen because it's the season. That makes sense, Jack said, thinking about their growing friendship. And here I thought you might suddenly find someone and disappear on me. Zarla nudged him playfully. Not a chance. But I'll tell you this, Jack. I didn't expect these consequences. Being here with you, feeling so connected. It's new to me, too. Jack felt a flutter in his chest at her words. The night, the stars, and their conversation seemed to weave a new layer into their friendship. One that was unexpected but not unwelcome. Zarla, I'm here, as long as you want me around. Whatever this season brings you, we'll face it together, Jack promised, his tone sincere. Zarla leaned her head against his shoulder, her voice barely a whisper. Thank you, Jack. That means everything to me. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sky, the meteors streaking past like fleeting moments of light, beautiful and ephemeral, much like the feelings blossoming between them under the starlit sky. The weeks following their night under the stars brought a subtle shift in Jack and Zarla's relationship. The air between them was charged with a new energy, neither entirely sure how to navigate these uncharted waters. One crisp evening, after a joint cooking session in Zarla's apartment where they attempted to blend earth cuisine with Zalarian spices, they found themselves alone, cleaning up the kitchen. The small space forced them closer than usual, the proximity a palpable force. Zarla handed Jack a dish to dry, her fingers lingering on it a moment too long. She withdrew her hand quickly, almost as if burned. Sorry, she murmured, avoiding his gaze. It's okay, Jack reassured her. But he too felt the electricity that seemed to spark from their brief touch. He placed the dried dish away, turning to face her, his heart pounding with a mix of nervousness and excitement. Zarla, about the other night on the roof. She cut him off, finally looking up into his eyes. Jack, I've been thinking about that night a lot. So have I, Jack confessed. I've been feeling something different, Zarla. Around you. Her breath hitched slightly. Different good or different bad? Good. Definitely good, Jack replied, the corners of his mouth lifting into a shy smile. Zarla bit her lip, contemplating his words. After a moment, she stepped closer, closing the distance between them. I feel it too, she whispered. The kitchen felt suddenly smaller, the air charged with anticipation. Jack's hand reached out almost of its own accord, brushing a strand of hair from Zarla's face. Her skin was cool and smooth under his touch, sending a shiver down his spine. Zarla, But before he could finish, Zarla stepped forward and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, exploratory. Jack was momentarily frozen, shocked by the suddenness. But as the initial surprise wore off, he responded with equal tenderness, his hands moving to her waist to pull her closer. Zarla's arms went around his neck, and the kiss deepened, driven by the weeks of growing tension and unspoken questions. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathless, their foreheads resting against each other's. Wow, Jack managed to say, his voice a hoarse whisper. Yeah, wow. Zarla echoed, a laugh bubbling up from her throat. They stood in the kitchen, holding each other, letting the reality of their actions sink in. It was Jack who spoke first, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart. What does this mean for us, Zarla? Zarla pulled back slightly, searching his face. It means we're exploring something new, something that feels right, but we'll take it one step at a time. Jack nodded, his expression serious. I want that. To take it one step at a time with you. Their agreement hung in the air, solid and reassuring. They resumed cleaning, but everything felt different now. Their movements, their stolen glances, the occasional touch charged with a new significance. As the evening wore on, and the kitchen once again became just a kitchen, The pair sat down with cups of tea, a comfortable silence enveloping them. They didn't need words. Their shared glances and smiles spoke volumes. Tonight had changed things, and as they sat there, they both acknowledged silently that they were embarking on a journey neither had expected, but both were eager to explore. In the weeks that followed their first kiss, Jack and Zarla's relationship blossomed with a quiet intensity. Each shared moment, each conversation, seemed to deepen the bond they had begun to explore. Tonight was another step in their journey, as they planned a simple evening walk through the city's luminous botanical gardens, a serene spot favored by those who cherished the night. As they strolled under the glowing foliage, the bioluminescent plants cast otherworldly shadows on their paths, enhancing the surreal beauty of the moment. Jack reached out, taking Zarla's hand in his, feeling the now familiar thrill of contact. "Every time we touch, it feels like discovering something new," Jack confessed as they walked, his thumb caressing her hand gently. Zarla smiled, squeezing his hand back. "I feel the same. It's like learning a new language, one that's spoken through touch." Their conversation drifted naturally from mundane daily details to deeper, more personal topics. Jack shared more about his family back on Earth, his aspirations, and some of the fears he had about living so far from home. "And what about you, Zarla? What dreams do you have?" Jack asked, genuinely curious about her inner world. Zarla paused, looking up at the canopy above, where lights mimicked the stars of her home world. "I dream of bridging worlds, not just through trade or diplomacy, but through understanding, to show that despite our differences, there's so much we share." Jack nodded, moved by her words. "You're doing that right now, you know. With me." Zarla laughed softly, a sound that stirred something deep within him. "I guess I am." They found a secluded bench and sat down, their bodies naturally gravitating towards each other. Zarla rested her head on Jack's shoulder, and he kissed the top of her head, a gesture that felt as natural as breathing. "Zarla, these past weeks with you, they've been incredible," Jack started, his voice low. "I've never felt this connected to someone." "Neither have I," Zarla whispered back. "It's scary and wonderful all at once." Jack turned to face her, his hand reaching up to gently caress her cheek. "It's the wonderful part one want to focus on." "And we will," Zarla affirmed, turning her face to kiss his palm. As they sat in silence, enjoying the peace of the gardens and the comfort of each other's presence, Jack felt a surge of emotion. It was more than attraction, more than fascination. It was a profound connection that seemed to transcend their differences, binding them in a mutual understanding and affection. Finally, as the night drew to a close, they rose from the bench, hand in hand, reluctant to end the evening. "Come, let's go back to my place," Zarla suggested. "We can watch the end of the meteor shower from my balcony." Jack smiled, nodding in agreement. "I'd like that." Back at Zarla's apartment, they settled onto the balcony with blankets and warm drinks, watching as streaks of light painted the sky. The meteor shower was a beautiful backdrop to their conversation, each meteor trail sparking new topics. As the weeks turned into months, the uniqueness of Zarla's mating season faded into the background of daily life, but its implications did not. Jack found himself navigating a relationship that was as enriching as it was complex. Sitting together in Jack's living room, they faced each other with mugs of steaming coffee, the outside view a canvas of the bustling city. "Zarla, when you first mentioned your mating season, I had no idea what to expect," Jack began, his tone reflective. "I didn't expect these consequences. It's been more than I ever imagined." Zarla set down her mug, her expression softening. "I know. I was prepared to face this season alone, but having you has changed everything. It's like finding a part of me I didn't know was missing." Jack reached out, his fingers intertwining with hers. "You know, I've been reading about Zalarian partnerships. I wanted to understand more, to be sure I'm not just a seasonal fling for you." Laughing gently, Zarla squeezed his hand. "Jack, believe me, what we have is rare, even by Zalarian standards. It's not just a season, it's us. Encouraged by her words, Jack decided to delve deeper into his thoughts. I've been thinking about the future, about us. How do we make this work long term? Your season will end, but I want us to continue, to evolve. That's exactly what I've been hoping to hear, Zarla admitted. I've spoken to some counselors, both human and Zalarian. They've seen relationships like ours thrive. It requires effort, understanding, and lots of communication, but it's possible, Jack. More than possible. Jack nodded, his resolve firming. Then let's make a plan. Cultural integration. Bridging our worlds. It won't be easy, but I'm in if you are. I am, Zarla confirmed, her voice filled with determination. Their conversation shifted towards practical steps they could take. Language lessons, cultural exchanges, and even meetings with other mixed species couples became topics of their action plan. As the evening grew late, Zarla stood and stretched, a playful glint in her eye. Now, how about we take a break from all this serious planning? Let's go out. There's a new exhibit at the Cultural Center, Interstellar Art Through the Ages. Jack was quick to agree, eager to keep the lightness in their interaction. That sounds perfect. Let's do it. The Cultural Center was alive with beings from various planets, the air buzzing with myriad languages and laughter. As they walked through the exhibit, admiring artworks that spanned the galaxy, they found themselves discussing not just the art but their dreams and hopes for the future. Ending the night with a stroll through the nearby park, Jack felt a sense of peace settle over him. Zarla, whatever the future holds, I'm glad you're my partner through it. And I'm grateful for you, Jack, for your openness, your courage, and your heart, Zarla replied, leaning into him as they walked. Under the starlit sky, they made their way home, their steps synchronized, a silent vow renewing their commitment to each other and to the journey ahead, whatever it may bring. The morning sun cast a golden hue across the city, illuminating the apartment as Jack and Zarla shared a quiet breakfast. They had come a long way since the beginning of Zarla's mating season, and now, as it neared its end, they found themselves reflecting on their journey together. Jack poured Zarla another cup of coffee, then sat across from her, his eyes thoughtful. You know, when you first told me about your mating season, I had no idea how deeply it would affect both of us, he started, his voice tinged with introspection. Zarla smiled, taking a sip of her coffee. Neither did I. It's been an enlightening period, in more ways than one. I've learned so much about myself, about us. Jack nodded, his gaze fixed on her. I've been thinking a lot about what happens next. The season is ending, but I feel like we're just beginning. How do you feel about that? I feel the same, Zarla replied warmly. The season helped us find each other, but what we built together goes beyond any biological prompts. It's about the connection we've forged, the understanding we've developed. Encouraged by her words, Jack reached for her hand across the table. So, what do you say we continue this adventure, see where it takes us? Zarla's face lit up with a smile. I'd like that very much. They spent the morning planning. Jack suggested, maybe we could take a trip together? Somewhere neutral, a place neither of us knows. It could be a sort of symbolic new beginning. I love that idea, Zarla enthused. There's a planet, Elysian, halfway between Zealer and Earth. It's known for its peaceful landscapes and rich history. It might be the perfect spot for our first trip. Jack was quick to agree. Elysian it is then. Let's make the arrangements. Later that day, they ventured out to their favorite cafe to continue their planning in a more relaxed setting. The cafe was bustling with the usual mix of species and languages, a reminder of the vibrant diversity surrounding them. As they sat sipping their drinks, Jack brought up a more serious topic. We should also start thinking about how we'll manage our differences in the long run. I mean, the everyday stuff, the cultural nuances. Zarla considered this, nodding. We've been doing well so far, but you're right. Perhaps we could meet with a counselor who specializes in interspecies relationships. They might provide insights we haven't considered. I think that's a great idea, Jack agreed. And maybe, We could both take a seminar or two on cultural sensitivity and communication. It could only help. The conversation flowed easily, their plans gradually taking shape, each suggestion building on the last. It was a testament to their dedication to each other and to the future they envisioned together. As the afternoon waned, they walked back home, hand in hand, their spirits high. They stopped on the bridge overlooking the canal, watching as the water reflected the changing colors of the dusk sky. Zarla leaned her head on Jack's shoulder. "Jack, do you ever think about how unlikely this all was? Us meeting, connecting the way we have." "All the time," Jack admitted, wrapping an arm around her. "But then, the best things in life are often the unexpected ones. I'm just grateful we were open enough to embrace it. And I'm grateful for you, Jack, for your courage, your kindness, and your willingness to embrace all parts of this journey," Zarla said, her voice filled with emotion. They stood together in silence, watching the sunset paint the sky with hues of orange and pink, a calm peace settling over them. They had faced uncertainties, navigated complexities, and built a relationship that promised to withstand the tests of time and difference. As they turned to walk back to their shared life, it was with the secure knowledge that together they could face whatever came next.